There's somebody out there who's struggling with something. And the reason they can't go from 0 to 1 is because they're not addressing the most major thing in the world that they're struggling with. That could be drugs, could be alcohol, could be gambling, could be a shopping addiction, it could be an internet addiction, it could be, endless food. There's no limit to what you can abuse, right? It's all things that take you away from yourself, right? Anything that gets me out of me doesn't make me deal with reality. I know the theme, you like to go the guys are 0 to 1, you want that push. You got to think right to act right.
Welcome back to Mic'd Up. I'm your host, Mike DiCioccio. Our guest today is a powerhouse of perseverance, and he's proof that your lowest moments can become the foundation for your greatest success. After early wins helping scale a startup from 0 to over $1 billion, he faced devastating losses from a collapsed business to a gambling addiction that nearly cost him everything. But through humility, grit, and relentless focus, he built his life and his business from the ground up. Today, he leads a $5 million e-commerce brand that powers over 1,000 online swag stores for major clients like DoorDash, Crocs, and Penn Entertainment, all born from the ashes of failure. Welcome to the show, the founder and CEO of Inked Stores, Jay Sapovits.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Just from a proper ordering standpoint, made my last bet March 6, 1997, and actually scaled the businesses, and my entire professional and business life came post. I was 25 years old when I got clean and sober from it. But my entire business life came post.
After that scenario,
my entering into recovery. I think it matters because it's without that element, I'm never here today, right? So I know that a theme of your show is 0 to 1, right? Mm-hmm. And, believe me, there's somebody out there who's struggling with something. And the reason they can't go from 0 to 1 is because they're not addressing the most major thing in the world that they're struggling with. That could be drugs, could be alcohol, could be gambling, could be, a shopping addiction. It could be an internet addiction. It could be, endless food. There's no limit to what you can abuse, right? It's all things that take you away from yourself, right? Anything that gets me out of me doesn't make me deal with reality. So I know the theme, you like to go the guys are 0 to 1, you want that push. You got to think right to act right. So you can't think right. You can't, what's the old saying? You can't live the wrong way and do the right things.
That's a good point. I'll even say this, man, the show is not just 0 to 1, like with early stage entrepreneurs. It's also 0 to 1 to -3 to +10 to, you know what I mean?
Oh.
That roller coaster, you feel like you're back to level and you're getting ahead. And then inevitably as an entrepreneur, you get a couple left hooks that bring you back down to earth. And I want everyone to know, and I asked you how to say your name like 5 seconds before we started, and I feel like I maybe butchered it. It's Jay Sapovits. Jay Sapovits. Okay. So guys, if you're tuning in right now and you're like, man, I want to know more about Jay. I want to know more about his business, his brands. We got everything linked in the show notes. It's easy to find. It's clickable. Jay Sapovits, his website, his social, it's right there for you. So Jay, I want to dive into this conversation. I know we're a little bit more limited today than usual for as long as I like to run with the episode. Our conversation does come at a perfect time. A lot of my recent guests and even myself reflecting personally have been talking about the next chapter or figuring out a rebirth or the idea of refocusing or even totally pivoting, right? Deciding to make that moment. So for your story, if we dive in, Inked was built from the ashes, like I said earlier, on a failed fitness startup. But what was that turning point for you that you said, you know what, I'm going to pivot. I'm not quitting. I'm just going to pivot.
So I've never really known quit in my life. I don't really, I had 3 kids. When the economy crashed in 08, 09, I wasn't able to maneuver my way in a business that was, didn't have the sales velocity that it needed to have in a startup, and had to shut that down. And from there, I just kept going. Right. So I had 3 kids. I mean, small. I mean, you're talking about, if I'm just going to 2009, 2010, my oldest was 10. I had 10, I had 10, 8, and 5. So when you've got kids and you've got a family, like, I just don't even understand what it would be like to not bring income in. So I had always just moved forward with the next, whatever that next thing was.
There was no option. You had to move forward. You had to take care of your family, right? And yourself. If you're not taking care of yourself, how do you take care of them? But like, I know that feeling of like, when shit hits the fan or things are going wrong, or it just feels like every time you try to move forward, it's met with adversity. It doesn't matter. You still have to keep going forward, right? I mean, it's just how we're wired.
I'd say from 2009 to really 2012, 2013, I was in figure it out mode. I say that, and during that time, built a business on San Bart's for somebody that had hired me from having worked as a consultant for them. And at the time when I was building that business, I had thought that I was going to own, a big piece of that business. And we had an agreement for me to do so. And he had backed out on that agreement. Essentially what happened was his business went down during the crisis. He panicked that he was going to lose it. My business went out during the crisis. He brought me in as an entrepreneur. I was able to help scale his business back up to where he wanted it to be. After I scaled his business back up, he didn't have the same level of panic that he had when it was down. So he made promises to me when it was down and pulled those promises back when when the business was up. I mean, it's a lesson learned, right? You don't get rich on the way into businesses. Or on the way out of businesses. You get rich on the way into businesses. And I was in a very depressed state, financially, emotionally, spiritually, because I had, I was coming off my own failures. So I was looking to feed my family. He took advantage. By the way, I don't say took advantage in a derogatory way. Just that's what happened. He took advantage of my life's position and not being able to, it's like the ball player who's on a 3-game contract, right? Like, I'll do anything to get where I'm getting. Until you're there, you realize you should be there, and then you didn't get what you needed to get because they needed you more than you needed them.
Right. It's a little bit of a used and abused thing. Now,
totally.
Are we talking about the same company? Is this Marquis Jet you're talking about? You helped scale it to 1 billion, or is that a different story?
No, it's a different story. So what happened in my career, I'll just give you the real brief history in my career. So I get clean and sober. I leave the radio business, WIP. In fact, I know you said you're in Philadelphia, so 2 years on WIP.
Cool.
I create Jim Furyk's special event to the PGA Tour. That lasts 4 years under my guidance. I transitioned to be on the startup team at Marquis Jet. We ran that business to $1 billion. I was clean and sober at that point. Life was going great. My trajectory was nothing but up. I was making a ton of money, as you can imagine.
What was your role on the team at the time? What were you in particular doing?
Well,
for Marquis?
I was sales, because I was one of the top I was top 15. I was one of the first 15 employees. So you could just imagine, right? You go to almost $1 billion.
Everybody was in sales mode. Yeah.
Everybody's in sales mode. I ended up running the Midwest, right? So what happened was I got tripped up by my own ego. And I'd love to look back on history and say that that's not the case, but it is, right? I can do this better. I can go out on my own. I don't need to be in sales for somebody else, right? I can go out and create a business on my own. So in 2006, I left. Created a business, raised some capital, put a lot of my own in. In fact,
was that the fitness business you were in?
No, it was a private villa business.
Okay,
private villa business. And by 2009, we were out of business. So that lasted 3 years.
Obviously.
But that move, right? The worst decisions I've ever made have come from my ego, right? And that move, leaving a startup, leaving an early stage company that I had helped grow to that point with a massive book of business, with tons of friends in the business, great clients, unbelievable service, to do something on my own because I was a salesperson at Marquee, right? Because what happens is you're one of the first 15 players in the space. You do everything. And then as the business grows, you get narrowed into roles, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you're putting me in a role for a 100 million, 200, 400 million, you're going to put me in a sales role because that's what I'm great at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. But in my head, I wasn't a salesperson. I was a business owner because I had done that before. So now let me just leave and do that again.
Yeah. And so it's funny you're saying that. I'm thinking, I mean, there's a lot of parallels in our stories here. I mean, I had a sales background working for other companies, some Fortune 100 and 500 companies, and then got the itch, that energy of, if I can do this for them, I could sell for them and make them a ton of money. I want to do this for myself. And then you find out what that thing is. What's that passion? What is that fulfillment in your heart that you want to be a part of? So when everything in your story there, it was 2009, everything started to fall apart for a lot of people in that industry. What would you say would be like your first small win you remember? And like, was there a habit that you started to build that helped with momentum? Was there something that you're like, I'm just going to keep doing this? And it really was the stepping stone for you getting back in alignment?
I was very fortunate. I had a very large network of people who knew me, believed in me, trusted me, liked me. And as I closed the business in 2009, a friend of mine needed a general manager or owner, partner to run a golf course for him. Obviously, I'm a golfer, big golfer, love it. It was 15 minutes from my house. I stepped in and ran a golf course for him. And I turned it around in 3 months. I got in there in January of 2009. Thing took off immediately, March, April, May, right when the season opened, and never looked back, created incredible partnerships locally. And, that 6-month period gave me a jolt of confidence back because I was able to do something I loved. It also lowered my handicap significantly, which,
awesome.
Again, like you get your ego destroyed, you need to look for places to pick it back up. And while I advocate against being egoless now, and it's a huge cause of mine, especially with entrepreneurs, like, ego suppression is a way I try to run my life. You do need to believe in yourself. Now there's a difference, but you need to believe in yourself. Well, at this course, I was able to see the results so vividly that it gave me belief back in myself.
You could feel that your presence was being felt and that results were directly linked to what you were doing while you were there. You weren't just helping a buddy out. You were really helping this business grow. And plus you were having fun playing golf. So you were in a good spirit. Like your energy, for someone to be successful, there's so much about energy that comes from it. People just knew you were in your space. You were doing well. Like people wanted to talk to you in that space, right? Because you're there's a good vibe that people are feeling when they're hanging out with you or talking to you at the front desk. It's the word that comes to mind is swagger, right? That word could be thought to be negative, but it's not. Like if you're feeling good, you're confident, you're having fun, there's swagger with that. That's a good thing.
For sure. I mean, that's what happened. And so I got my energy back. And look, I mean, being at a semi-private golf club doesn't pay like I'm eager to be paid. So I started consulting in the private villa. I had a friend that I had made, again, through networking. I've always been a pretty good networker, who had a friend that's business was in trouble, which I described to you earlier. He introduced us, and I started to consult 2 days a week for him on his business. And, that sort of catapulted me into that next opportunity, back in what I would consider to be a more professional environment.
And so that was another stepping stone moment in your story. I hate to go backwards as what we're like really building into what you're doing now. And I want to get to Inks because there's a lot of cool information that you can share with us. And a lot of people tuning in are interested in the swag gear and all the cool stuff that people can get through your company. Before we get to that, you teased it right out of the gate. You mentioned, the gambling, and some of the things you were going through before your business career really kicked off. But I want to speak to the entrepreneurs who maybe they're building a business, they have a family, maybe they do have children, and there's some self-sabotage going on. They continue to do whatever it is. It could be, like we talked about, drugs, alcohol. It could be pornography. It could be gambling. It could be whatever it is, that something is in there that is crudding up, their success. Is there anything you could think about when you were going through that you finally were able to kind of get clean? Any advice you could share with someone who's maybe struggling in any of those areas, and it's self-sabotaging their personal health and wealth? That's a huge question, but anything that you can share.
It is, and there's no magic bullet. I mean, for me, it was definitely a drip. I made my first bet when I was 13 years old. My dad, I was a total along to the racetrack with him every day. I mentioned to you, he was a racetrack announcer in his second career, including at Buffalo Raceway, where you're from.
Yeah.
I went to college out at UNLV. I knew very early on I was hooked and couldn't stop. What did it for me was I felt like I was at the end, and I was at that fork in the road. I had allowed the concept of recovery into my life through listening to somebody on the radio who had an hour-long show about Gamblers Anonymous, and I had listened. I had called the 1-800-GAMBLER line. By the way, I'm now on the other side of that hotline if people call to help them. And I just talked to people that were recovered, and then I had enough. And I'd love to say that it was a white light, but it wasn't. I was tens of thousands of dollars in debt, living at home with my parents, had a job, even though it was on radio. I was rich and famous. Rich and famous is great. Poor and famous, no good. So that's being in radio. So, for me, it was just, it was just opening my ears and allowing the concept that I could stop.
Yeah.
And I did. And it's the first day is hard, and the second day is hard too. And, it takes time, but you just got to be honest with yourself. Like, where do you see yourself? Who do you see yourself as? And how do you want to live your life? And you got to win momentary battles, right? And this is not dissimilar to entrepreneurship, right? Like, I don't want to make that call. You make a call, right? I don't want to go in at 7:30 a.m. You go in at 7:30 a.m., right? You have to take action against your own will. You have to take action against your own mind and what it's telling you. Because if your mind's anything like mine, you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. Somebody's better than you. You can't do it. And it's all a lie, because all I have to do is my best. And, my best so far has been pretty darn good. So if you're struggling with something, right, you don't need to quit for life. You just need to quit for the moment. And if you just string together moments, you'll string together an hour. And if you string together an hour, you'll string together 2. And if you string together 2, you might get a day. And if you get a day, that means you just start all over again and win that moment again. So, it really is as simple as, not easy, simple, as breaking it down into the moments that you need to win. And that's how I did it. If you told me that I'd be, sitting here talking to you and I would have 28 years sobriety and, away from a bet, and, I think
you'd be like, you're freaking crazy.
I'm not involved. Like, I'm not involved with the phone. Like, I don't even know anything about it.
Yeah. A lot to unpack right there. First of all, it's incredible that you did that moment by moment, day by day. And I think that's a huge thing for us in business to remember too, is we're not going to get to our business goals by just looking at it on a spreadsheet or like, hey, January 1st, this is what we want to do. And you look at 12 months, it's like, what are we going to do today, every single day, and map it out. And everybody tuning in, I'm sure, has a version of what they're focused on in the moment and today. But what I liked about what you said is, you were reaching out to people who were on the other side of it. So you could see, hey, these people were doing the same stuff I'm doing, struggling the same way I was doing, maybe even worse in some cases. And look, they got through it. They're willing to help me out. And it's so important to meet with people who really know the struggle. Because I know whenever I struggle with different things in the past, if someone was trying to help me and they had no experience with it, it was really hard for me. Not that it wasn't being respectful to them, but it's like, how can I connect with this person? They don't really know what I'm going through. So the fact that you got real help from people who experienced it, I think it sounds like that helped you a lot. It wasn't this big white light, like you said, but it was little lights that were going off, light bulbs to draw you back in. And I'll say one more thing is, whenever we do go through hardship, so if you're tuning in right now and you're going through some crap right now that you feel like, man, I need to come out on the other side. You will come out on the other side. And when you do, that is a blessing, because now you actually are empowered to help someone else. So like Jay can talk to someone who's got a gambling problem and just sit there over a cup of coffee right now and be real and give them some help. He wouldn't have been able to do that. So did he sign up for the addiction side of it? No, but now that that's already his past and you can't change that, Jay, like now you're willing to help someone. That's all we can do. We can only move forward and make good of it. Right. So
like, I remember when I was in the pickle, and, people who I loved and who loved me, they would say to me, like, why can't you just stop?
Yeah.
And I didn't know the answer to that question. But when I started to visit with other people who were compulsive gamblers, none of them ever asked me why I couldn't just stop. Because they knew. They
knew. Yeah. You don't ask someone when you know the answer.
The concept of being in a room where people think like you, whether it's entrepreneurship or addiction, is extremely parallel. Because, how is an entrepreneur, right? Someone who comes into the office and has nothing, and their responsibility is to create something. And that's what they call work that day. Mm-hmm. Going to commiserate with somebody who works in a corporation whose boss hands them a pile of work and tells them that it has to be done next Thursday. Like, next Thursday. Yeah. Like I came into the office this morning. I tangentially, directionally, I knew things that needed to be done. But
yeah, like what's going on next Thursday? I have no idea. I got to look at, you got to pull up the calendar.
Yeah, I pull up the calendar. I'd see I have meetings on the schedule for next Thursday, but I know that we have like two things: make sales, and then whatever's on my calendar. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think there's a good parallel for people. And again, I want this episode to be a resource to anyone going through something right there. Take a minute, pause, reflect, and the first thing we all need to do is realize it's okay to ask for help. There's a masculinity factor there. And if we want to really be masculine, then get the help to be a stronger rock for yourself and your family. Because if you're not really being masculine. You're actually being weak because you're not getting the help that you need. So I'd love to take this as a moment to pivot, fast forward a little bit. We're going to pivot like we've been talking about in the story. Inked serves now massive brands. I mentioned at the top of the show, DoorDash, Crocs, and numerous other awesome brands. So what do you think makes you guys different? And it's the one thing we always want to do is stand out, and, we got to cut through the noise. So how do you feel you've done that so far?
Definitely a human being.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely treat people in a very, kind way, right? I do operate by the golden rule. So, I think me and my team work really hard to answer the phone fast, send emails back, quickly. We're great at ideation. From a production and kind of business perspective, I mean, we do our own work in-house, so we control the timing and quality, and that we embroider in our facility.
Yeah. You're not one of these companies drop shipping from overseas, and it's like, we do the design.
No, we drop it, but we make it. I mean,
but you're actually the production side of it too. So
listen, I'll give you a perfect example. There's a 1,700 person company. We got 24 offices. We recently engaged them. They have a photo shoot on Monday, this coming Monday. That they called us on 6 days notice. We were able to outfit their entire executive team with branded gear. We involved some overnight shipping, obviously, because you got to move stuff around, and they wanted some better brands. But I didn't have to call anybody to ask whether or not we could get the job done. I knew if I had the gear in time, right? If I had the Peter Millar, if Millar shipped me in time, which I made sure they did, then I was going to be able to ship them in time.
You could deliver. Yeah.
I could deliver. So
the word that I hear is control, Jay. You control a lot of the process.
Well,
so you can deliver.
I'd say that my clients are people who want to have, it's just like the jet business. It's just like, you want one phone, you want to push a button and know somebody's there for you. Those are the clients we excel with. If you are someone who likes to have a guy, right, who has it handled, and you don't want to sweat it, because when you want something, you want it. That's how we operate with our companies that we work with. Hate being called a vendor, love being called a partner. I act and operate like it. I built an infrastructure to support it, and my whole team has a mentality and thought process that's likened to me, which is one of my first clients ever came into my shop and we printed a T-shirt that said GSD. And at the time, I didn't know what it meant. I said, "What's GSD mean?" We're GSD.
Get shit done.
We're GSD.
It's a core value. Get shit done is a core value of yours. And I can tell that great brands shapeshift into the energy of the entrepreneur. So like your team, you got all individual people on your team, and they got different talents and gifts they bring to the team, but they also embody, that energy that you have. And I've never met your team, but I can just feel it in you talking about them and just talking about the brand. And it really feels to me like everybody's moving in the, they're all in the ship and we're all moving in the right direction, right? There's no this moving sideways, backwards, so that's huge. And what you also mentioned right there, people, and you talked about the willingness to, hey, I'm like your agent on the phone. You call me, you need something, I got you taken care of. Like, I'm a partner of your business. We're an extension. We work in lockstep. We are not a vendor that you meet at a trade show type thing. Like, and then, you have my business card stuck in your briefcase somewhere. It's like, you call me, you get me. That's huge.
Those are the best. Those are the clients that we love working with the best. And, it's funny because they actually are the ones who also pay the least.
Hey, you know what? One thing I learned in business, you do treat everybody the same and it will come back, right? You have that same energy. And you never know who, it's going to be your next biggest client. It could be the person who you met at one of those trade shows. Take us back though to the idea you want to get into like the swag business. What led you into that? And then like share a little bit more about what you do. People are tuning in right now that have businesses and they want to check you out. Like, take it as a minute to kind of little self promo.
Well, so those are two separate questions. What got me into the swag business?
Yeah, what got you into it, and like, what you chose to do.
I was mentioning that I had a promise broken to me in 2012. I left the villa rental business. The founder of Marquis Jet was starting a company in the fitness equipment business. He asked me to come run it for him, Ken Dichter. So I came in 2012 and we started this fitness business, which effectively sold branded fitness equipment with logos on it, medicine balls, foam rollers, yoga mats, etc. After about 2.5, 3 years, we didn't get the traction that we wanted to in sales, but I had learned how to decorate a lot of different things like PVC and foam and plastics. So I had this brilliant concept. Well, what if we just take the knowledge I have of decorating things and I apply it to products people actually want to buy, like hats, T-shirts, and hoodies?
That's awesome. Light bulb moment for you right there.
I mean,
I like that you say decorate. I would have never, that's not how I would have described it. You can tell you're in the business because.
Look at your hat. Well, by the way, look at your hat.
Right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
New era.
Right. Okay. Feel it. What's if it's got like a metallic feel?
Yeah. It's got a metallic embroidered, one of the reasons I bought it. And then it has this kind of these rubber.
That's not embroidered. That's metallic, right?
Yeah. There's it's a patch that has a metal piece in it, and then it's sewn on the hat.
And then the hat is sewn on, right? But it's not direct, right? So it's not direct embroidery. There's endless ways that you can get a logo onto something. That's a obviously that's a a different way than just direct embroidery, which I'm sure you've seen, right?
Oh
this,
yeah. Oh yeah.
This happens to be a heat transferred logo, right? Do you recognize it?
It's hard for me to see just because it's at a distance, but
Live.
Is it like a?
This is Bryson DeChambeau's.
Oh, cool. All right.
Bryson DeChambeau shirt, right? Who we also work for. We worked for Bryson for a long time now. So yeah, I use the word decorate because I think that, there's different ways that you get logos onto garments or onto products that are the appropriate way to get them on to either, show the logo or elevate them in the right possible way.
And you mentioned earlier too, you work with brands. So if someone they want Nike, they want, whatever, New Era hat, but they want to put their logo design on like a plain New Era. Yeah. You do that as well, right? I mean,
that's our whole business. I mean, our core offering is meant for companies who want to wear their brand. And what we're really good at is identifying the right products for their logo, especially if they're giving it away as gifts or if they're outfitting their employees. And then obviously the actual physical application of decorating the products themselves to make them look as beautiful as we possibly can. So,
and do you focus mainly like on the merch side of it, like t-shirts, hats, bags, stuff like that? Or now do you also, because you knew how to do putting a logo on a, gym equipment, do you also do some kind of funky stuff that people might like outside the box?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, I could give you a show and tell if you're interested. You just go over my shoulder here, and you can, this is a serving tray with the roses on it, for example. It's a hardcore cool acrylic serving tray. Above it, you might recognize that logo is Underdog Fantasy Sports. It's a custom hat that we did with them with inside taping, with an inside label. It's a very popular style and super cool. Right next to it is a piece that I gave away down at the Super Bowl while I was down there. It's a keychain stuffy that is a bald eagle. So you can figure out why I gave that away with the love symbol on the front of it and my
go birds,
my company's logo. So I mean, look, our job is to expose people to items that they otherwise wouldn't know, see, or think about, and help them use money they're going to spend on either giveaways to acquire clients, retain clients, employees, retention or acquisition, and get return on investment that they would spend. So it's everything. There is no limit as to what we can produce and decorate.
What's maybe one of the cooler things you worked on at outside the box design, or maybe you were at a trade show and you built something pretty cool for their booth? Anything come to mind where you're like, oh, that was really cool. We got to work on that.
Yeah, I mean, the things over my shoulder I think are pretty cool. That's why I put them over my shoulder.
Show them off.
I'm wearing Bryson's shirt that he wore in the PGA Championship. That's also pretty cool. Look, it's all specific. I'm not evading the question, but like, I'll give you an example, right? So, you see this? It's for a trucking company. It's a coaster.
That's awesome.
Right? If you're a trucking company and you give away to folks when you see them and visit them, a coaster, that's a pallet. That's pretty cool. Or
jumps out.
Princess Cruise Lines, right? Downy wrinkle release. Right? You go on a cruise, you probably need something that gets the wrinkles out, right?
Right.
So,
the things that are applicable that you want, you can actually use. Like how many times you go to an event and in the swag bag, it's the, same like 5 items, right? It's the pens, it's the USB drive, it's the, you know what I mean? I went recently to it was fitness branding, and I was invited there by one of our clients. It was a really cool event for Rockbox Fitness, their fitness franchises all across the States. And I produced their podcast. So they were a different company called Thrive More, is like the mothership. And when I was thinking about like adding an item into the swag bag, it's a little outside the box that people would actually use. So I did a coaster, and I got a lot of compliments on it because they're like, hey, I don't have another coaster. And it has a cool logo on it. Actually have it up here. I don't know if you could see it too good.
Yeah, like a cork coaster. We'll call it. Is that cork?
Yeah, it's got. I think it's bamboo.
Bamboo. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't know you yet, so that's why I didn't go through you. But next time I need to do something like that, I'll give you a ring.
Mike. Where were you? Just out of curiosity for that trade show.
That was in Charlotte.
You got on a plane, right?
Yeah.
So everybody who gets on a plane to go to a trade show does the exact same thing. I'm going to tell you what you did, and you can tell me if I'm right or not.
Okay.
You took a bag, you accumulated items that you walked around, you accumulated items that were in the bag. You went back to your hotel and you dumped the items on the on the bed or on the desk. You then
I kept them in the bag just because I got OCD, but I looked to see what I got. Yeah. It was like Halloween candy. It was like Halloween for kids. You check to see your favorite candy in the bag.
Sort through it.
Mm-hmm.
And you toss what you don't want and doesn't make the cut to go home, and keep what you do want that makes the cut to go home.
In my case, I brought everything home, but there's some stuff I still haven't even opened, but yeah.
So most people don't bring everything home.
Interesting.
Listen, this isn't scripted. I didn't know what you were going to answer, but most people dump the bag, sort through it, dump the trash, keep what they want. Your job, my job, is to make sure that it's something that they want.
We got to make the cut. Yeah.
You got to make the cut. We call it so I call it in t-shirts or apparel. You want to buy items that make the rotation. And what I mean by that is, like, how many t-shirts do you own? 100?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, but people wear the same 7 or 10.
You got to make the rotation. So what makes a t-shirt getting the rotation? 2 things.
Mm-hmm.
How it feels and what the content is.
Right.
So the theory is you're not going to miss on content because you're giving it to somebody that has a reason to like the content, right? Could be your show, could be your business, but you're giving it to someone who's got affinity for that. So the content you should have nailed, especially if you don't over-design it. So now it comes down to feel. The difference between you getting a shirt that feels great, not good, great, and a shirt that feels like maybe your kid should wear it is maybe $2 to $5. So,
but it's the difference of it never being worn once or being in the rotation. $2 is your key in the door. Yeah.
And if you say, well, oh yeah, but you got to multiply that by 200. We're buying 300 shirts. Okay, hold on. It gets worse. Again, I'm just trying to think about the thinking. You're not buying 200 shirts. You're buying.
They're buying them
200 times. I'm not giving you 200 shirts. I'm giving you one shirt. I'm buying you a shirt. I'm not putting a bulk order in for shirts. I'm buying a bulk amount of shirts, but every shirt is unique into itself because it goes to one individual.
Mm-hmm.
Make nice things.
Yeah, I like that. That reminder right there goes for anything in business. Like, if the difference between it getting tossed out, left behind in a hotel somewhere, or being in the rotation, and that's really what we want to be as a podcast, right? Like, I want to be in somebody's podcast rotation because there's only so much content, only so many podcasts someone can realistically listen to if they're an entrepreneur in a week. It's when they're getting the kids from soccer, picking them up from school, going to the coffee appointment, or going to their office if they're not working from home, whatever it is. Like, you got to get in that rotation. And the difference of being in it and out of it is just tweaking what you're doing and doing it at a little bit higher level than the rest, and thinking about why that, in your case, a t-shirt, if it doesn't feel good, nobody's going to wear it. I have a daughter who, she's very sensitive, man. It's really hard to go shopping with her because if it doesn't feel just right and fit just right, she will not wear it. It's very difficult, but I think everybody can relate to that firm kind of the free t-shirt you get at the bank when you sign up for a new thing, and you know what I'm talking about. And you're not gonna wear that thing. It's got the big tag hanging out of the back. So speaking of branding, one of the things we do on the show to pay the bills is give some love to our sponsors. I'm going to do that real quick, and I got a couple more questions for Jay as we do it. socialchameleon.us. That's my podcast agency. You can check us out at socialchameleon.us. You press record We handle the rest. It's podcasting done for you. And we work particularly with B2B and business podcasts. We're recording this on Riverside. They're one of our affiliates, riverside.fm. If you're looking for high quality audio and video, and you can do it virtually. Jay and I are not even, anywhere near each other right now. And we're able to do this interview. And also the way we get it on Apple, Spotify, and all the major players like iHeartRadio and Amazon Music is through libsyn.com, libsyn.com. So I want to get into a little bit of you talk about your dad. There's a cool connection that he worked at the tracks in Buffalo, and I grew up not far from there. You watched him, something I did a little research. You mentioned watching him kind of choose stability over dreams. And I think a lot of people right now that are tuning in, thinking about launching a business, they're juggling that in their head. Maybe they got family members who are saying, hey, stay on the W-2 path. You're doing well. You're happy, but they're not fulfilled. What would you tell someone like that, that maybe is thinking about just staying in the career path opposed to trying to go do something pretty cool?
I mean, look, at some level, you're going to have to sacrifice somewhere at some point. So I don't think in the way I think through it is, and I watched my dad hate his life and job, come home from the first day of teaching high school, counting the days down till he was gone. And then in the summer, counting the days down in the summer till he had to go back and hate it. Right. And I swore I would never be in that spot. And if I didn't love what I was doing any longer, I would leave and do something else. I've made that happen for myself. But that road's not for everybody. There's more. I didn't have the resources that exist today. Mm-hmm. The side hustle back in the early 90s isn't like the side hustle is today, right? I can't just sell something online, or couldn't have sold something online like I could have back then. There's so many avenues to be able to make money, and some of it's tough because you have to really sift through a lot of garbage too, right? And make sure that you're not, it's the overstimulation is almost as bad as the understimulation. Everybody
has the same tools, and it's a very low entry cost to get in. So it's like
totally right. So like, what makes you special? But there's some people out there that are better off if they were to do something on the side, because it's going to mean that they have a more stable family life, and leaving would actually cause more chaos. And they, that's just the way it is. So you have to analyze your own situation. I'd say this, this is the way I kind of view it, is if you're not capable of working a 9-to-5 job and making sacrifices in your free time to change your life, you're probably not capable of doing it 9-to-5.
That's a good point. Do that first. If you can tackle that and you're excelling at that, then you got what it takes to make that transition. But if you can't handle it, then your chances are going to be lower.
You and I both know that the first step to any entrepreneurial business is selling something. Mm-hmm. Right? So pick what you're going to sell and find somebody who will buy it, whether you have a product or not. And if you can get one person to buy it, chances are you can get two. So the mistake, listen, I made mistakes in my career. One of them was I built a product before I had a depth of sales in that product. I would never do that again. I'm a big believer in selling before anything.
Proof of concept, yeah.
Yeah, of course. So there's a lot of time in the day. Sacrifice that time that costs you nothing, except that time and your maybe, downtime, and see if you could sell something and see if you could start something. And that is, to me, that's in today's world where I would start.
It's essential, man. Like, I haven't met a successful entrepreneur that's not good at selling, especially selling something that they're passionate about. I mean, if you're not able to do that, and I'm not trying to be hard and you're not trying to be this tough guy, but like, if you're not able to do that, then this is not really, you know what I mean? Like, well, a lot of people say like everybody can do it and everybody can start a business. True. But like, if they're really going to be good at it, they have to understand how to sell in a real, genuine, meaningful, like, go and do it somewhere else and get paid training work at a company that's going to pay you a salary to be great in sales. And then after you do that for a handful of years and you have this cool business idea, then you can transition, is all you're saying, right? Like, get that experience first.
Well, I just think it comes down to, how much you want it, but also the concept of sales is not, the old concept of sales is, you're trying to convince somebody to buy something, whether they need it or not. That's done. That doesn't exist anymore. The only thing you're trying to do now is identify people who need the service that you're selling. And if they need, and it's your job to explain that service and why your service is a better service than other services that exist. But sales is about helping people and making, thinking of their needs before your needs. And that to me is, very, very doable. But like, if I wasn't a salesperson, if I wasn't a natural born salesperson, right, I'd probably get a job at a store, like a retail store, where people came to me and I would gain a comfort level in talking to people, and I would gain a comfort level in presenting people my solution. Say it's a furniture store. Well, let me tell you about this couch, Mike, and then transition that into what it is that you want to offer in your business. Nothing's free. So when we talk about like, would I leave my job to, like, nothing's free. Like, you can leave your job, but that comes with a price. So it's really just like, not even your tolerance for risk. It's pain tolerance, family tolerance. It's not just you. I happened to do it when my kids were small. But I look back at that time period and probably wasn't the best decision I ever made, because I made it, kind of clouded by my own ego. So, there's no right or wrong, but.
Well, here, I'll summarize, man. I know you got to jump. I appreciate you being on the show today, sharing your story, some of the setbacks you had early on in life. And then as you got going with business, working with some of these great companies, being blindsided by some of the contracts and all that stuff that happens sometimes in business, or people, you use the baseball analogy, sign a 3-day contract. But the thing I love about your story is it never stopped you, right? It maybe killed some momentum, but you kept building, you kept going. It was a stepping stone learning lesson. And it seems like everything that you had going on, you learned from it, you took it to the next experience, and then you said, you know what? That shitty experience, that great experience, what can I dissect from it, take the good, destroy the bad, and just keep moving on? And I want everyone who's tuning in right now, you can do that. It doesn't matter where you're at, 1 day into your business or 10 days or 10 years or 50 years. Like, we're always take the good, learn from it, and keep moving forward. And that's, I think, the theme of the conversation today. And the other thing I took away is you're doing something you love and you're interested in, like the swag business is something that lights you up. So you're going to be great at it because you want to help people do something you're passionate about. And everyone who's tuning in can do something cool and make money doing it. That's my send off. I want to remind everybody, be great and be grateful. And also I added one now, be great, be grateful, and be kind. Be kind to the person in front of you at the grocery store, the next person you Zoom with. Maybe they're having a bad day, whatever. You don't know what's going on when you intro to someone. And so my 2 cents today for free is be kind. Any last send off that you'd like to say, Jay?
Yeah. Now I look back at my life. My firstborn was my wife went into labor during the season finale of the first Survivor. Wow. And it was appropriate because that's been the story of my professional life, surviving,
man. That's it. One moment at a time, 1 day at a time,
moment at a time.
Well, I appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Mike.
Keep on moving.